Peace and blessings, everybody. All right, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you all for tuning in and listening. All right. I wanted to do this piece. When a few people reached out to me, and I wanted to take an opportunity to share what I believe are some critical insights that could give some clarity to Dr. Umar Johnson and this school initiative that allegedly or apparently he now is operating. And I thought that I will share just what I believe is going to be some of the more critical developments that absolutely should or must take place, just based upon my analysis, research, and understanding. For those who may not know, I'm Haki Hamid, the success scholar. I'm not a success scholar, but I'm the success scholar. And I wanted to take this time to share just some of my keen insights, wisdom, experience in terms of what is relevant, conscious Black education in the 21st century, and how leadership is positioning ourselves for true empowerment, true freedom, true liberation. Uh, so, for those who may not know, but I'm assuming that most people that would be tuning into this are aware of Dr. Umar Johnson, who has been aspiring towards uh, building a Black independent school, a Frederick Marcus Garvey Academy, for some years, and there's been much controversy and discussion around the financing of this project. And for me, being a success scholar, I always look at, you have to look at things from a warfare perspective and a warfare strategy, and understanding that we have to do a whole lot more with little. Means that we may not have all the bells and whistles that other ethnic groups have to achieve our objectives. And so several things that I would certainly, and I listened, the brother sent me the video this morning, and I said I was going to do it, and then I saw somebody else. I was like, let me get up and do it. Let me have a discussion around this. But certain strategic things that needed to take place with this, I don't know if they actually have been or will in the future. But the first thing I'm thinking, that any individual who is attempting to start an independent school should certainly be aware of all of the independent schools that are in circulation right now in the Black world. And so I certainly believe that there initially should have been a connection or a relationship with CB, which is the Center for Independent Black Institutions. Now, this was started, I believe, formulated, organized by Baba Hannibal, the late ancestor, as well as I know that several individuals, particularly Baba Shuja from Jersey area, I believe he wrote the book Too Much Education, Too Much Schooling, Not Enough Education, I believe. So several individuals who have worked in Black education should have been consulted long before, very long before. They should have, those are the first elders and ancestors now, some who should have been consulted. So if I don't see any of them, even on the board or as advisors, I'm just certainly wondering what's the framework and the experience of that. Now, I also wanted to speak about the curriculum, and I saw a discussion about real estate. He said something about real estate in this, as well as agricultural science and I believe political science. Well, if you are studying real estate and wealth, several individuals certainly need to be at the table. Dr. David Anderson out of Atlanta, real estate guru, CEO Mike Roberts, many of them could have looked for helped you find a good deal on a building. Real estate is certainly a valuable asset builder that we need in our community. And so I would have certainly consulted with these individuals, particularly someone that is well respected as Mike Roberts. So that's with the real estate discussion. I would say that, there's several key books that are out. I think if we're talking about real estate, some of the Kiyosaki analysis is quite valuable and should have been consulted for understanding the role of business education as well as training. Because what's happening is these schools are becoming, these physical colleges are becoming more hybrid day by day. Everything is going from brick and mortar to click and order. And that goes for education too. You can get Harvard trainings during there for free or at no cost or low cost, shall I say. Not just Harvard, there's several different online schools that are certainly picking up steam and momentum. So with that, I wanted to speak about next when we speak about agriculture. One of the best and most conscious, aware person that is the most conscious Black farmers. Well, first, I believe that BIFA, I believe it was his name, Baba Gary, they certainly have been consulted or should be consulted. These are the experts when you talk about land development and agriculture and seeds and, understanding what needs to happen with the land, the clay, and timber, as well as Dr. Ridgely Muhammad, who has a very valuable book that I believe that if you, you need to consult someone who has been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years and someone that has knowledge of self. So if you're talking about agriculture, you're teaching about agriculture, and you do not have Dr. Ridgely Muhammad at the table, I'm just like, what's going on? I mean, this is what real conscious, real do for self Black people need to be aware of. These are the people that individuals need to be connecting with. So again, BIFA and Dr. Ridgely, Dr. Ridgely has a good, powerful book that came out some years ago, Life After Yaqub, that talks about doing for self and the value and role of land. So next, I believe he said something about political science, right? Now, I don't know I know he has an undergrad in political science, but I'm not sure, for instance, if, the relevancy of just talking about politics and what are you teaching, the theory versus the physical application. And there certainly should be several key resources that and individuals who you can't talk about Black politics without speaking about these individuals and their role in their history. You have to, being on the East Coast, we know about the Adam Clayton Powells and the mayor, what's the name? Mayor Jackson, Atlanta, as well as Mayor Marion Barry, right? We need to have books like this, The Peacock Elite, that discusses the role of the Congressional Black Caucus. This is by Congressman Major Owens. We need to be aware of the, what's his name? I'm sorry, Dr. Ron Walters, Professor Ron Walters. He was at University of Maryland and then at Howard. He was one of the campaign persons for Jesse Jackson's campaign, right? Had a very clear, wrote several books, The Black Politics from 1970 to 2000, as well as white nationalism, conservative policy, no, wait a minute, white nationalism, conservative policy, and Black interests. So he's transitioned now, but he laid out some good scholarly analysis that I believe sincerely that if we're teaching, because he go back from the whole Gary to, in the book he don't talk about President Obama, but we can get updated analysis of that. So that's speaking about the whole political dynamics. And on the West Coast, we have Professor Taylor, who wrote about Black nationalism. What's the name of his book? Black Nationalism in America. I think that's the name of his book. I got to get that book too. But political science, PhD, and I've interviewed him. And he lays it down like, he understands for what it's worth. And that's the thing. I'm not overwhelmingly thinking that we are going to be spending a whole lot of our time talking about politics unless we are doing something about it, unless we're doing things locally, as well as showing up, for instance, at the Congressional Black Caucus weekend, organizing, getting the different people who may not totally agree with everything the Congressional Black Caucus does, right? So next, I believe sincerely that I'm not going to say the only person that we need to be listening to, but one of the key scholars, teachers and books and that we need to have is Baba Kamal Kimbo. And I'll also add Imali Mubarudi. So I would say if we don't, the world's prominent, most conscious, these are some of the most conscious living Black people in our history. Many of these people do not know who they are, right? The real aware people know who these individuals are, but they've been ignored. They've been ignored by some of people who got microwave ideas about the world and microwave solutions and microwave degrees and microwave scholarship about life. And so I would say any school that does not have their books, matter of fact, we really could have just organized a massive study group under Kamal Kimbo's teachings, like for real, and just call it a day. We could have took that money and bought a few Kamal Kimbo's books and just woke up a few 100,000 Negroes, huh? So that's what I would do with the money, But I mean, Negroes can't read. I guess you just got to show DVDs all day and get people in school and in a building and yell at them and preach to them and I understand. I understand because it's different communities, different segments of our population. But the other thing I wanted to just add is some of the key scholars that have come before us that we could certainly just build on if we push and promote their books is none other than Dr. Amos Wilson and Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu. Now, these scholars who I certainly have got their books in front of hundreds and tens of thousands of many of the best and brightest individuals out here. Many people, see where Dr. Umar get a lot of his analysis and, hopefully he would give them credit and attempt to, have their books, hundreds of their books in the schools, in the school, so that our young people, look, if you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to write 10,000 books. You don't need to write 90 or photocopy and copy and paste 90 books. Just get the right books into the right people's hands, right? So let's get to some real practical analysis. So that's Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu, who wrote several dozens of books, on many different topics dealing with education. And Dr. Amos Wilson. And sometimes I've been to some independent charter schools, for instance, in the DC area. And I couldn't, I have Dr. Amos Wilson's books on my table, The Psychological Development of the Black Child, or The Awakening the Natural Genius of the Black Child. And the teachers wouldn't even look at it, right? I mean, they wouldn't even look at the books. I'm like, man, these Negroes are crazy. I don't know where they get them. I don't know why they in front of our children, right? And this is why, what's the elder that transitioned in DC? I believe they have a Marcus Garvey school in LA, or did. But I read his book about education. It's about a hardback. It was about 200, 300 pages. Palmer, Dr. Palmer. I don't know if it's Alvin Palmer, but Palmer, who's in. Somebody post the name of that book, that school in LA. I read the book some years ago, but he said he didn't allow for people with degrees to teach in the school, right? That's deep. That's deep because he understood the deep-rooted miseducation. And so I'm just helping Dr. Umar out because, I know that sometimes when you are educated in the European establishment, you're not focused. You're not focused on Black people totally, right? And so you miss key points when other individuals, and this is the challenge that many of our African-centered scholars have or have had, because they were in two worlds, trying to interpret Black life and Black freedom through the eyes of, Europeans, right? And when we're talking about building schools, we got to add a lot of different dynamics, technology, right? The STEMs, because again, what Garvey said was the people that controlled the technology and the sciences were going to win. So I do understand the role of that. And another key partner that I believe sincerely, as it should have happened, and I went to this conference some years ago, National Association of Black Educators. Now, if I'm not mistaken, they have their conference in DC. And I know they've done it a few times. But these are some of the most, I'd say, the blackest of the black educators for at least coming to something about black educators. If I was Dr. Umar, I would have been there, and I would hope that he would have been there recruiting people. I went there one year in DC, supported some of the different exhibitors. I don't think I, had a table there or anything. I didn't speak, obviously, but I thought that, man, you're talking about building a school. This is a recruiting ground full of people who love themselves or love Black people, sort of, National Association of Black Educators, right? So they should have been, you should be meeting with them, should have been meeting with them over the years. So that would have been ideal. Now, one thing I think, of course, Dr. Claude Anderson and his interpretation of the structures of how you build community, how you build a nation is an economy first. And I certainly believe, I would hope that he would be consulted in the context of what industries, if you do get this building, that there could be some training, proper training for an industry along with it. Because sometimes, hell, schools are, they're dropping. People, let me tell you, Black folks are spending money on everything else, and I know they're not reading. They will, go to movies. They will go see Black Panther, and money might have been spent better putting out a Black Panther-ish type of movie. You might have got a better investment from that. I ain't trying to, rain on anybody's parade, but I'm just saying. So many of us, and this is what we got to know. We got to raise up consciousness to a certain level. I mean, if the population are ignorant and, we haven't reached and connected, and this is the power of networking. This is the power of being humble and showing up with our where Black people are in different spaces, right? Many Black people are going to be at these HBCUs. This is why, I connected through the local colleges and universities. I'm sorry, make sure I'm bringing too much. Sorry, I don't know if you heard that. So again, I think I covered all my bases, so get yourself, I would hope that BIFA would be consulted, Dr. Ridgely would be consulted, Kumjufu, his books, if you're not able to consult with him, Dr. Amos Wilson's books, all of these need to be in the schools. I mean, or, something ain't right. Dr. Kamal Cambone. Yes, this is real. This is, I mean, this ain't, we don't got time for no ego, man. We really don't. We got to bring out the heavy hitters. And Wally Barudi's books, one of the most prominent Black sociologists of this time. Let's just make it plain. 20 something books. And I don't care, I mean, I'm gonna be humble. I'm gonna know who really putting out that analysis, right? And I'm just gonna give it to everybody right now. We don't have time for people to be ignorant and just pumping people up, and they somewhere in left field, not connected to the right scholars, the right institutions builders, right? Association of Black Psychologists, right? You're going to need psychologists. The ASCEC, the books that the study group of ASCEC actually has. Get my body back on schedule. These are some key books, but I just wanted to lay out some key thoughts in terms of the politics, the agriculture, and economics. You're talking about the real estate, I mean, somewhere along the line, you're going to have to bring all of these people to the table. They're going to have to be consulted. You're going to have to, when you're talking about black politics, you're going to have the Peacock Elite book, right? What's the other one I did? I think I did this one. Of course, Amos Wilson's, and Dr. Claude has some good, talks about the politics, but the real estate, but the technology, the STEMs, right? Science, technology, engineering, and math. Like this one sister, this little actress, she what's STEM? Oh, but you just the bomb, right? You just the bomb, chick. And you asking me what's STEM? I'm like, man, really? How old are you? But you gonna make it in Hollywood, right? So, all right. So that's about all I had to say, man. I hope you all enjoy your day. I just wanted to just expand on some key analysis from the Success Scholar, the SAFO, just laying out some key ideas on consulting with the right individuals. If we're talking about building institutions, true institutions, we got to reach out for the right people, man. And it's it's just a shame that many of our teachers are not reaching out for the right people, and it's gonna cost us. So I'm hoping that some of you won't be lazy and go read these books and and position yourself for real power. I mean, that's the only conversation that needs to take place. How does this activity, how does this operation, how does this movement diminish, neutralizes, stops, repress the global system of racism, white supremacy, or if Dr. Kamal Cambone would say, white terror by domination. And so I just wanted to make it plain. Like, we just can't be all hoorah about a school if we don't have the right books in the school, we don't have the right people in the school, right? Because there's a lot of these HBCUs that are just, kind of, keeping our young people in debt, to build a bigger building and a bigger salary for these presidents of these institutions. And there's no return on investment for your intellectual capital and your productivity. So we're going to have to synergize this economy. And honestly, not everybody is going to be ready to go to college, and everybody don't need to go to college. Nowadays, they just ripping us off anyway. Straight up. HBCUs too. Although, my family have, graduated from HBCUs, some of them. But, I'm gonna call a spade. And that's why, many elders, Baba Kamal and Baruti, they not in there no more, because they saw what's going on. So that's all I have to say, brothers and sisters. You can leave your messages, comments, or holler at the Success Scholar. My email, look me up on Instagram, Success Scholar on Instagram, Success Scholar 1 on Twitter. Definitely stay connected. Website is successscholarhaki.com, successscholarhaki.com. And, I'm on Facebook. Follow my business page, Harambe Books on, or Haki Shakur Ahmed. So just look me up. I'll make some room. Definitely stay connected. Got a trip going to DC to the HBCU Museum coming up this week, as well as this hip hop museum. I wanted to just connect the dots to some of the young people in the Baltimore, DC area that are, making some things happen. So time to wake up, go read these books, grow, stop just listening to people on YouTube. You need to read some real scholars, some real thinkers, those who have totally deconstructed, this system, those who have cleared their mind of the neo-colonial slave mentality, right? those who have freed themselves and totally, say, disconnected themselves, their avatars, or disconnected from this matrix, right? So I'm going to say again, I hope, what I said made a lot of sense, because it should. If you are adult and you are connected to people and you know what's going on, you got to get the best people, man. You got to get the best people and the most resourceful information for our people. And, not everything is going to need to be in a building, but if it does, at least have the right books. That's the only thing I can say. At least have the right books for our people. We can't have people keeping our people ignorant and having our people not reading and not thinking, not reading our real scholars with some real depth, right? So that's all I have. I'm out. Holler at the Success Scholar. Peace and blessings.